Hello everyone, it's Christie with RÖD Wine, and I am back to do another video with you guys today. And today we're going to talk about tasting wine, and we're going to delve into the more specifics when one is analyzing wine on your palate. And this isn't just for professionals, this can be for any one of you who might be collectors, any wine lovers out there, or even occasional wine drinkers. This is to sort of get you motivated to learn a little bit more about wine and get you a little more interested into what's in your glass. So we're going to start today with a red wine. This is a biological wine, Palate from the Rhone Valley. It's a Syrah wine. I'll move a little closer so you can see the label here. It's Montemija, Palate, and it's IGP wine. Nothing too complicated, just an easy wine that we can analyze together today. And you can do this with any wine, a white wine, a red wine, or a rosé, but I picked a red wine today because red wine gives you a little bit more to talk about, where white wine can be a little more straightforward. So we're going to do this today. So we'll pour this into the lovely red wine glass. Okay, now first, when you pour the red wine, or any wine, in your glass, the first thing you want to do is have a look at the color of the wine. And you want to see that the wine is healthy. So if a wine is dull, your reflections of light won't bounce off the surface very nicely, but you want to see that your wine is semi-translucent or can at least pull in some light through its color and bounce light off the surface. That's a healthy wine. And then we can do this by also swirling it in the glass and catching the color as well. So this is a Syrah wine. It's relatively young, 2015. It's not a wine you can age or cellar for very long at all, if not more than a year. So you want to have a look at the color. This color in the light is a burgundy red. Some dark berries are in there, which should be the color of a young wine. And if you don't have good lighting or a nice window to look through, you can always just get a piece of white paper and then hold it up against its, and then you'd want to tilt the wine out onto the paper to see the color of the wine. Alright, so now that we looked at the color and we see that it's a healthy wine, now we can get on with smelling the wine. And what we're going to do is we're going to give the wine a swirl. And what this does is it increases the surface area in which your wine has contact with the air. And this allows all the aromas and the bouquet to open up and dissipate into the bowl of your glass. And I can actually even smell it in the air from here. And we want to make sure it's not corked or that there's any other default in the wine on the nose before we move on to tasting. And so far, nothing is corked on this wine. Nothing else is wrong. And when you smell a wine, you don't want to hold your glass like this and bring it up to your nose. You actually want to tilt the wine glass, until the wine is sort of close to the mouth of the glass. And then first, what I like to do is bring my nose to sort of the surface of the wine to smell it at the wine level. This wine smells like dark berries. There's some herbs on this. Fresh picked herbs, maybe thyme. And I can smell some slight toast to this as well, like pencil shavings almost. And another thing that's interesting about smelling this wine, if you have trouble identifying aromas in your wine, you can actually break this up and make it easier. So, when you tilt your glass like this, and you smell the wine at the surface of the wine, this is sort of like what you're getting from the fruit of the wine. And different aromatics have a way of evaporating in different levels of your glass. So, usually what you get at the base of your wine glass, near the surface of the wine, is the fruit, some characteristics from your vineyard, and basically the heart of the wine, of the grape where it comes from. So some terroir and elements and things like this. As you move up the glass, this is where you catch the bouquet of the wine. And a lot of people actually mix up the terms aroma and bouquet. They're actually two different things. Your aroma is actually what you get from the grapes, the vineyard of the wine. The bouquet is what you get when the wine has been elaborated with oak or anything else in fining and maybe aging on the lees and things like this. That is your bouquet. That's what you're going to get, usually a little bit more at the top end of your glass. And this allows you to separate different elements and different aroma descriptions that you can pull out from your wine. So I smelled the base, which is I'm getting a lot of thyme and some berries and a lot of fresh wild strawberry actually. So now I'm going to move up the glass, sort of where just under the mouth of the glass is where you're going to put your nose. Yeah, and here is where I smell toast and some pencil shavings and maybe some freshly toasted bread even. So it's a pretty basic wine, as you can tell. There's not a whole lot coming out of this, which is fine. It's a 2015, just an easy young wine from the Rhone Valley. Alright, so now we can have our first sip of the wine. Now, if you remember our food and wine video, when we took the first sip of the wine, I told you to ignore that, because that usually just sets your palate. And the same here. It is just a first sip to initially coat your palate so that you can better analyze the second sip of your wine. And when you take that second sip, pull it around your palate. You want to pull it around the sides, around the roof of your mouth, pull in some air with it. That really allows your palate to absorb the wine and also get a full coating of the wine so you can see which elements are present. And the initial, you want to pay attention to the initial impact of the wine. And a lot of that sometimes has to do with the shape of your wine glass. There are some very specific wine glasses out there that you can get for varietal specific wines and styles of wines these days, and it has a lot to do with where the entry is on your palate and how that impacts the body, the texture, the flavor of the wine, and the aromas you get in your mouth as well. This glass is very nice because it just empties the wine into the center of your palate and it's able to spread throughout. And what I get in this wine is it's a very soft wine. It's very easy on the first sip. I get a lot of nice acidity for a red wine that's very soft. It makes my mouth water on the sides. And the texture of the wine is medium bodied. Light bodied wine is going to feel light on your palate, but it's also going to attack your palate in certain areas with acidity. And these are usually with your white wines. So you're going to get a lot of acidity on the front of your palate that makes your mouth water, and on the sides of your palate, which also makes your mouth water. As you swallow the wine, you want to pay attention to where it falls and where it hangs out on your palate at the end. So from front to back and sides, that's where you want to pay attention to. So this wine here is a pretty balanced wine for as young as it is. Very easy to drink. It's got a lot of berries, berry flavor. It's kind of rustic almost. There's sort of an unrefined touch to this. Which is very nice, and it kind of reminds me of certain areas of Argentina where I traveled in, where the wine wasn't over filtered and was just left to its natural elements. And it gives me some acidity on the sides of my palate. And the tannin structure that I get from this wine, which you're going to get in red wine, because the fermentation allows the skins to rest on the wine during the entire fermentation for a couple weeks. And this imparts tannin from the structure of the grapes. You can also get tannin from oak, which is what I get. This is a lightly oaked wine as well. But the difference between grape tannin and oak tannin is that grape tannin is present on the front end of your palate, whereas oak tannin is present on the back end of your palate. And this is one way you can find out and figure out whether your red wine that you're drinking is balanced in tannin, which also determines its quality and aging potential as well. So the grape tannins should be present on your front and your palate, and if the wine is oak elaborated, it should be present on the back. But these tannins should be very even. One tannin shouldn't take over the presence of the other. And there should also be no hole in the middle of your palate. These are where the tannins kind of join in the center. This is very complete. And the tannin structure, even though Syrah doesn't have a lot of tannin in itself, is very soft. The oak tannins in the back are also just as soft and even. If you get a big red wine, such as a Cabernet Franc or Cabernet Sauvignon that you want to age, taste it and analyze it before you put it in your cellar. If the tannins are uneven on your palate, this will never fix itself with age. It'll just stay the same, or one end of the tannin structure will completely dissipate and the other will stay strong with age. So it'll never balance out. So that's one thing for you collectors out there, and even for you people who love wine, if you want to see whether you're purchasing quality wine or and you know what to look for. It's all part of educating your palate. So that's our video for today. I hope everyone gained some insight and had some useful information from this video today. As weeks go on, we can do a couple more videos on more complex wines, so we can talk about other elements and complexities of the wines and how you can take note of them on your palates and in the aroma profiles. And for you collectors out there, this can be some very useful information to see what you're cellaring, to know that what you're going to get out of your cellar in a few years is going to be just as good as when you, or even better than when you put it in there. And it's even just some good information for any wine lover out there who wants to enjoy their wine a little bit further in appreciation. So I look forward to seeing you then, and until then, happy end of summer, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.